for holding this very important hearing today. Now more than ever, Washington must advance policies to preserve and to expand the use of nuclear energy. Nuclear technology is fundamental to meeting our energy, our environmental, and our national security goals. Nuclear power is our nation's largest source of carbon-free energy. In terms, it's critical to reliable electricity, resilient electricity, affordable electric service, all of them. During last month's cold snap, nuclear power plants, by one key metric, outperformed all other energy sources. For the last 75 years, America's nuclear energy industry has been the world's leader in safety as well as performance. We need to ensure our leadership endures. As we speak, America's adversaries, Russia and China, seek to undermine our nuclear industry. Russia and its satellites have intentionally dumped uranium into our market. They undercut American uranium producers and processors. They drive our companies out of business. America's uranium production is so low, it is now at a level not seen since the 1940s. We're on the brink of finding ourselves completely reliant on foreign uranium to power our nuclear power plants. This is unacceptable. The Biden administration must take decisive action to prevent this from happening. Last year, Congress approved and appropriated $75 million to establish a national uranium reserve. This year, Secretary Granholm should complete the establishment of the reserve, begin a purchasing program, and buy American-produced uranium. We must maintain our ability to produce and process our own uranium. In addition to losing our uranium producers, we are also losing our nuclear reactors. Currently have 94 operating nuclear reactors. These reactors provide 20% of our nation's electricity. Since 2013, 11 reactors have shut down. Even more are scheduled to retire by 2025, including 5 this year. Many of these plants could safely remain online for decades. While the reasons for these closures may be complex, too often the result is that carbon emissions go up nationally and electric reliability goes down. That's why Senator Whitehouse and Crapo and Booker and I have introduced the American Nuclear Infrastructure Act. We did that last Congress. Among other things, the bill would keep reactors online at the risk, those at risk of closing permanently or closing prematurely. Last December, the Environment and Public Works Committee reported this bill with broad bipartisan support. Innovation will also be key to reestablishing America's leadership in nuclear energy. 2 years ago, President Trump signed into law the Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act. It's a bill I introduced along with Chairman Manchin and Senator Risch and others. This bill established a network for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to approve advanced nuclear reactor designs. Over the next decade, we expect advanced nuclear technologies to be deployed. New reactors will be safer, smaller, and more efficient. Advanced nuclear reactors will generate less nuclear waste. Some may even run on previously used nuclear fuel. Advanced nuclear technologies will enable new market opportunities beyond the electricity sector. The heat from advanced nuclear reactors can drive a variety of industrial processes. It can improve the efficiency of chemical and hydrogen production. This heat can clean up wastewater and make salt water from our oceans usable. Advanced nuclear reactors will also improve access to materials used to diagnose and to treat diseases. They will even power missions to space. The world is looking to nuclear power to meet its energy and environmental goals. We must ensure American technologies are leading in this global expansion of nuclear energy. American leadership in this sector is critical. It's critical to ensure nuclear energy is used safely for our peaceful purposes. Today, we will hear directly from the industry executives working to maintain our historic leadership in nuclear energy. I look forward to the testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Barrasso. And now let me welcome our highly qualified.
Senator Cassidy, are you available? We may have had to go to vote because we're in the middle of a series of votes. So while we're waiting for the chairman to come back and we have 4 votes going on, and the chairman is going to do the end of the first vote and the beginning of the second vote. I voted already in the first vote, so I'm going to go with additional questions, and we'll then wait the chairman. Ms. Roma, the world is looking to expand the use of nuclear energy to meet our environmental as well as energy goals. Why is the United States leadership in the nuclear energy sector critically important? And can you also talk about what the consequences would be of losing nuclear deals to, say, Russia and China?
Sure. It's critically important for the United States to be a global leader because that's where we've been and we've had huge dividends. It's prevented the spread of nuclear weapons. It's ensured that U.S. safety standards that come out of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission are widely adopted around the world as setting the gold standard for how you should regulate nuclear power plants to make sure they're run safely. It gives the United States a voice on nuclear safety and security purposes, and allows us to strengthen and further develop relationships with countries that are building nuclear power plants that aren't just necessarily longtime U.S. allies, but allies that we're trying to establish further relationships with. And that happened more recently with the UAE, where they didn't build a U.S. reactor design, but a number of U.S. companies helped support standing up that program. And that significantly influenced the safety standards, the implementation, the nuclear safety culture. I think that's something that we don't talk about very often when we talk about how important it is in running a nuclear power plant, but that's the idea that anybody within an organization can raise a safety issue, no matter what tribe you belong to, no matter what position you have within the plant. And in some of the places where we're building nuclear power plants, that entire concept is a foreign concept to them. And so kind of embedding that at the beginning of a program, make sure that when countries that are new to nuclear and developing nuclear, that they do it safely and in a way that makes sense. From a geopolitical standpoint, when we look at Russia and China, we have to look at not what are they just doing with nuclear, but what are they doing generally. Russia historically has used treated its work in foreign countries as a geostrategic objective where it can go and exert its influence. And by building, owning, operate, and controlling the major source of someone's power supply. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about a little bit here when we think about nuclear is, yes, it's expensive, but it's also immense. It's huge amounts of electricity for plants that can operate for 100 years. And so when you look at building that much electricity in a country, if you have Russia who built, owned, operated it, and can shut it off, they now have a leverage over a foreign country that they didn't have before. That's probably a more aggressive tactic, but it also allows them to establish a further deeper relationship with that country as well. For China, they see an economic opportunity, but one of the things that I think is a concern is when China also builds, owns, and operates a nuclear power plant in a foreign country, that it's financing, the Egyptian reactors that Russia is building, it's financing for a 30-year finance period for a 2% annual rate of return to the tune of $20 billion. When China offers the same thing and all of a sudden a country in Africa can't make due on its payment, China has the ability to kind of foreclose on that and then exert its economic interest further in the country by taking over their power supply. The United States doesn't do that. That's not how we operate. And we need to be able to offer other countries an option that isn't as predatory and that is more benign, while at the same time also hugely economically beneficial to the United States.
Thanks so very much. Senator Hoeven.